So a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a viewer asking me a very interesting question, and then she said that I could make a video response to her if I thought that the topic was interesting. And I do think it's interesting. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the email out, right? I'll read the email out, and then let's kind of discuss what she's talking about here. Obviously, if you read the title, I think you have a pretty good idea of what we're going to be discussing here today. Let's get this started now. Now, first she compliments me, and I must say thank you very much for them kind words. I do appreciate them. But getting into the nitty-gritty of what she actually wants me to discuss, it would be this. I wanted to understand your opinion on the issue of accepting transgender people. Possibly you can make a video on this. I recently saw a video on Dr. Phil about a black teen, claiming she is of the white race. Besides her racist remarks, I was interested in her identity crisis alone and how others felt about it. Many folks said she ought to be in a mental hospital because she was born black and thinks she's white. Well, she must be crazy. But it is completely politically incorrect to say a person born a man who likes to identify as a woman is crazy. Oh, this is true. We are told transgenders are normal and being born one way and not feeling the other way is okay. So why is this black teen not accepted as white? So let's start there. Let's start there, right there, man. I think it's very clear as to why this young black lady is not accepted as a white person, and it is because the color of her skin is not that of one who is pale. To be frank, here's the thing. All right, I'm enough with the stupid accents, but to be serious, to be frank, white people in general. Sorry, Siri. Why is Siri acting? No, what is? What? I said to be serious, and so Siri activated. Anyhow, white people don't even accept mixed race people as white. You know, and the thing about accepting people as one particular race is it's always phenotypical. And what I mean by that is a phenotype is basically the physical attributes your gene express. You know, so with people just about race in general, it's usually just kind of about the features you express is where you normally get categorized as one race or the other, even when you're mixed. So the interesting thing about a lot of mixed people is that oftentimes they lean towards whatever non-white race they have a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. Black and white mixed race people, on the other hand, they usually blend towards the middle. Usually, not always, but they usually become like a beige or kind of high yellow type of person. And then like their hair and their eyes are just kind of all based on whether their white parent was blonde and blue-haired eyes or was a redhead or whatever, you know, that kind of nature. But even still, even these mixed race people are not normally accepted as white people, again, because of the features they usually express. Like, say you have like an Asian person mixed with white person, like mixed, you know, with a European. They usually look more like they're Asian, or if not, like an obvious kind of like hybrid of the two. So because people accept races based on just phenotypically how someone looks, this young lady in the Dr. Phil episode is clearly a black person. Like, I mean, just straight black. Ain't no argument. Ain't nothing to discuss here about whether or not she is a white woman, because she ain't. Just phenotypically, she's just black. And that's why people are not going to accept it just offhand, because when people discuss race, they just normally are talking phenotypically how someone looks. Normally, like most people don't think about genetically, you know, what race here or what race is there, and like all the different types of things. It's usually just about how you look, you know. And white people are not keen, and I'm not saying it's not wrong or right, but they aren't. White people are not keen on accepting mixed race people as white. They normally don't, especially if you're like mixed with black. And it's not really so much that like it's a racist thing, like you think they're inferior. They just don't accept that this person is white. Like mixed race people will always be accepted by other black people, even if like black girls will like complain or like make fun or get upset with light skin black women. But see, even then, the phrase light-skinned black woman itself is a thing. Like, they're still accepted as black. Even if you have colorism, they're still accepted as being part of the race of African Americans, when in reality they're mixed. They have African and European features, or European, genetic ancestry. But again, the point being is that they are accepted as being black people. That black people always accept mixed race people as being black, mostly because, again, phenotypically, African features like express themselves like incredibly strongly. I don't know why, but they do usually. Again, but like with some mixed race people, it is kind of like a gradient in the middle. They're like a true hybrid, which is actually really interesting. There's probably some reason why. I just don't know enough genetically as to why that's the case. But again, the reason why she's not going to be accepted as white is because phenotypically she has dark skin. Oh, here's what she looks like, by the way, just so you guys have a general idea of like who we're discussing here. All right, so that's just offhand why people are not going to accept her just from the jump. But there's some more interesting stuff in here, so that we're gonna keep talking about. So don't you worry about that. Even when she did not make racist remarks, people would still think she was crazy. This is true. And the girl in the episode of Dr. Phil, she did say a lot of different racist things, which I'll mention in a second. We'll get to in a bit. But for now, I'm just gonna read this email out. I brought this up for debate on several social media posts, and so to my surprise, very few people agree with me in regards to you ought to accept transracial people if you accept transgenders. It is completely the same concept of being born one way and not feeling that you are. Now, here's the thing that's very interesting. On the surface level, this is totally reasonable, but the more you break down race and the more you break down gender, or at least how people look at it nowadays, you'll find where the fine line is and where the difference is and why people are more accepting of one thing than the other. Ironically, it is very shallow, and we'll get into it in a second. She says, people were furious with me even though we all know it is true. They said race and gender is not the same. Well, it isn't the same in regards to if you are born male or female as you are born black or white or any other race. And you cannot naturally change those biological features. Indeed it is. I think the issues here is society has been conditioned to accept transgenders, but not yet conditioned to accept transracial people. Do people really accept transgenders, or are they scared into it? Because the majority of people against this black teen claiming to be white claim they accept transgenders, but in their hearts I don't think they really do. They think it's a mental problem, but are afraid to admit it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Keep up the great content. All right, Caitlin, let's get it going on. So here's the thing that so what her major question is, what she's really trying to discuss, is why is it that people are accepting of transgenders? Like, why do people say that that's a thing, that that's okay? But when someone says they're transracial, now people think that it's silly and that it's crazy. And I think again, I think part of it harkens back to what I opened with, and that is the fact that phenotypically, people separate individuals into different racial categories just based on how they look. It's not really about genetically where you came from, like where you break down genetically. It's about what do you look like, nigga? Like what can I see? What features do you have that I can see and I can put you in there? What's your skin? Like basically just skin color, skin tone, facial features. And that's really it. And you cannot really realistically change those features in any convincing way. Of course, someone will bring up plastic surgery, but let me just bring you back to what I just said. In a realistic way, you're not going to realistically be able to change most of your facial features, the shape of your eyes, usually most of the time, in any real convincing way to make you look like a member of a different race. And even if you were able to do this, even if that were the case, genetically, your children will still end up having the facial features you have because your genetic encoding does not register the silicone and Botox and all the different adjustments you've made to your face. You can't really adjust your face and then that will translate into your sperm or your egg cells. It don't work like that. You know what I mean? And so, and the thing is with transgender people, and I don't agree, but I understand, and to explain, the thing about being transgender is what it means. Transgender means transitioning into a different gender. Gender. That's what they're trying to communicate with that. A lot of people don't realize it, but that's what they're trying to say here. And the point being of being transgender is that they are trying to become a different gender. If someone says they're transracial, the implication is that they are transitioning from one race to the other if we're using the word correctly, right? Or the phrase correctly, I guess. The thing about being transgendered is, while I don't think you could ever become a different sex in any meaningful way, insofar as you start producing the actual, items required for sexual, like, as in, like, there's no way you can, like, have like a uterus and whatnot and like gain a penis that starts producing sperm is what I'm saying. And when I say a meaningful way, because the whole point of the categorization of male and female, men and women, is just to understand how sexual reproduction works. It's, if you cannot transition into that area and start, producing those sexual gametes, then there's no point to it. I feel. And if it's all just about how you feel, then you can just feel differently. Like, I do honestly think that you can start working towards feeling differently. Might cover that in some future video. But the point that I'm making is that, because that's why I personally don't believe that being transgender is meaningful. At the very least, the idea that you can start taking hormones and you can start doing some type of reconstruction surgery for your genitals, this is something people accept, because it's something people do. People do start taking different hormones. Like, the thing about being a male and a female is not only just like the way your brain functions are differently for as a man and a woman, but the hormones that produce in your body are different as a male and as a female. And you can actually do something about your hormonal production by injecting different hormones to help you, transition better between the two different sexes. You can't do that with race. There's no racial hormone. I mean, you could bleach your skin, like, you could do that, but again, your genetic encoding would not register the bleached skin. Like, your coding, once you're like, genetically, there's not much really you can do to change that outside of like the different types of food that you eat. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff is what really like changes like how your children are gonna be. How physically healthy you are at the time when you try to conceive and whatnot. Like, that will help. Like, that's what's really gonna change it. I mean, nothing, like, again, phenotypically, you're kind of set. It's kind of, you are who you are when it comes to the way that you look, and there's not really anything you can do meaningfully that's gonna change that. And so, even if you like bleach your skin or whatnot, I mean, you still have the features that will categorize you as one race or the other, usually as one person. And this is why people don't accept, the whole transracial thing as much as they would accept, if they do, even you are implying that you don't think most people accept it, as they would accept being transgendered. I do think a huge portion of the acceptance of being transgendered is definitely fear-mongering. It is definitely, people don't want to rock the boat because they don't want to lose their job and their livelihoods, because it is BS that literally just like hurting their feelings or saying you don't agree with them is tantamount to violence. Like, some have literally said that. That's like Riley Dennis. Back in the past, I did video responses. Yeah, Riley Dennis has literally said that this is a form of violence. I understand like people would be scared to take an honest approach or an honest opinion on like they don't accept transgender people. With that being said, I think in order to summarize my thoughts and to give you a coherent answer, I think it would be this. Being transgendered, there is a path to transitioning that people have currently accepted, with genital reconstruction surgery and taking different hormones and changing the way you dress and the way you talk and all of that. People genuinely like accept that there are fundamental differences between men and women, enough so that there would register a transition, because if you thought men and women were exactly the same, then being transgender is fucking meaningless. Like, it's a completely meaningless concept if you don't think there's a difference between men and women. But being a different race, on the other hand, I mean, there's so many different races to begin with. You know what I mean? And there's so many different like phenotypical traits. People identify your race normally by how you look phenotypically. And, excuse me, there's no reasonable transition that you can have. And the girl herself isn't even trying to transition, by the way. Like, it's not like the girl is actually, like, doing anything to try to make herself appear white. The truth of the matter is, the reason why this girl thinks that she's white, or says that she's white, or claims she's white, is all based on negative stereotypes of black people she doesn't like. And I encourage you guys to, like, watch the Dr. Phil episode so you really understand where this girl is coming from, because Another thing that's really important to understand is the girl is not really saying that she's white genetic. Okay, like at some point she does say that, but I don't really think she believes it. I really think what she's ultimately trying to say is she's not like a ghetto black person. She's not like one of those negative, thuggish, rude, mean, nasty black people. And I cannot identify a black because in her mind, her perception, and this is more psychological than it is, you know, like a physical. And her perception of black people is one of a very negative, like one of a very negative. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess negative perception. Just, you know, there was a word I'm like, I can't find it. Like, but that's what she views black people as. It's just this nasty, negative stereotype. And because she doesn't fit into that, that's her definition of black people. Her definition of black people is one of being negative, thuggish, nasty, rude, loud people. And because she's not that, she, by definition, cannot be black. That is what she's saying. So because the traits I have, I find more in white people, although it's not really accurate to like how the world works. I mean, in her mind, that's not the point. Even though her view of what her definition for white people that she would ascribe to would be straight hair. She says something about her lips. Her lips aren't that big. Her lips are big. I mean, it's not an insult. I mean, they are big. You know what I mean? I like big lips, so I'm not complaining. But you know, her lips are big. Basically, the whole point is that her definition for being white, she would fit into. That's what she's saying here. So the girl herself is not really one talking about transracial, any of that. She really isn't the Dr. Phil episode. But just, you know, the future, I'm pretty sure the viewer Caitlin was trying to say, just like in general. I don't really think she really meant this girl in particular. You know, so again, I guess to wrap up the video, I think what it is people are more accepting of transgenders because there's, one, definitely because of the fear mongering you mentioned, but two, because there's an easier path between transitioning that people have seen. And I wouldn't say easy, but you know, you've got hormones and you have, like, you know, the surgery, the genital reconstruction surgery. With race, there isn't much you can do. There is not that type of transition where you can really change your facial features or your skin color in any meaningful way. Like, you could not really meaningfully be a white person and really gain enough melanin in your lifetime without actually, even then, you would develop like skin cancer long before you become like dark as a Negro person, you know, as a black person, like, or African. It's gonna, you're just not gonna obtain it, and vice versa. I mean, even if you could, you know, bleach your skin as a black person and become albino, your facial features will remain unchanged. Like, it would take a lot to really and even after that transition, it would ultimately be meaningless if you have children, because again, you would not change your DNA. So you would just go through all of this just to, you know, I guess to make yourself feel better, you know. So I think that's why. People accept transgender people a lot more. They can see the transitioning a lot easier than you can see the transitioning from one race to another. And so hopefully, Caitlin, hopefully that answers your question. And hopefully anyone else who watched this video got something interesting out of it too. If you also have some questions for me and you want me to make videos about them, by all means, you can email me at zarius12345@gmail.com. And it's literally my first name, 12345. You can't miss it. Hopefully, I will check the email and I will get back to you. If not, I mean, I don't know, shoot me something on Twitter, and if I'm interested in it, I'll make a video about it. So that being said, man, I assume you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.